All right, so welcome to another rapid fire business story of the week. This is part of our rapid fire series, and today we have an incredible guest with us, someone who's achieved extraordinary success and is here to share their unique business journey with you. We're excited to hear their insights, so let's welcome them to the show. All right, so as this is our rapid fire series, we've got 1 minute or less to answer each question. So in a minute or less, give us the elevator pitch to your story and your life. Go.
Hey, well, my name is Royce Hall. I'm a Salesforce consultant by day and podcaster by night. And my elevator pitch is 7 years ago in 2018, I had a big career change. I was a certified arborist, and I was managing a multi-million-dollar company and doing pretty well over there. And I was very miserable. I knew I wasn't on the right path. And I was able to pivot my career into IT. I had some friends who were doing custom software development. So I was able to jump in with them and really started to get into the Salesforce ecosystem and realize that as a salesperson, Salesforce had a lot to offer me, but also there was a lot that needed to be done for people. And that's kind of how I got into the Salesforce world and selling into the Salesforce ecosystem, is just seeing how much was needed there to support sales from a tech side. So that's what kind of brings me to today.
So that's fascinating, and I would love to dig a little bit deeper. So tell us a bit more about what you're working on today that you're most passionate about and believe will have the biggest impact.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I'm working on today, I'm helping people utilize Salesforce better. And that can mean a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, it's how do we get data in? How do we get it connected to everything? How do we get the sales process enabled? I'm doing a podcast right now called Coffee Dreamin', and the idea behind that is the people who use Salesforce, they're part of the RevOps ecosystem, right? So there's sales, there's marketing, there's operation. How do we tie all those things together? And there's multiple parts of that. There's the tech side, so that's what I'm doing in my day job, is helping people figure out the tech side, but it's also process. Do we have the right processes in place when we start layering tech on top of that? So I'm very excited about that, and we're doing a lot of stuff in AI right now, so agents are a big topic across every industry and across every technology. How do we use the next generation of autonomous agents to make your deals go faster and your organization run smoother? So it's a very exciting thing to be a part of, and I'm doing a lot of deep dives with my clients in that as we're building out their Salesforce ecosystem and then enabling it even further, kind of the cherry on top, the AI agents. So that's a quick peek behind the scenes there.
So this next question is one that every entrepreneur has dealt with. Tell us about a time where you failed. We often say failure is the first step to success. So think about a time where you failed in the past. What happened? What did you learn from it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, in my career transition, I mentioned that back in 2018, my career transition, I had gone far and kind of maxed out where I was going to be in my arborist career. And like I said, I just realized that I was not where I wanted to be. I was not satisfied in my own work. And, in some ways I think about failing myself and failing my family in that of I've not built a career that I'm comfortable in. I'm not building a career that's, providing long-term success and runway for my family. So then transitioning into sales. I got into sales, high-tech sales for the first time when I was 33. So a lot of people out there have a leg up on me. But, I failed a lot. I made a lot of mistakes. I did a bunch of dumb things. But thankfully, I was surrounded by people that were there to pick me up. And, just finding my own voice in the midst of that and things that are, kind of self-awareness that are fulfilling to me so that I could pour more into my work and be more successful with it. I think that's maybe a little bit different than what a lot of people say to that question, but that's my take on the how do you fail and get back up sort of question.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. And we're definitely going to have you back on the show to dive deeper into each of these questions. But for now, one thing that I often say is, and I tell this to my employees and the people who work with me and for me all the time, is that when a tree falls in the forest, if nobody hears it, did that tree actually fall? This brings me to this next question. How do you make sure that all of these amazing projects that you're involved in get noticed? What marketing and advertising methods have worked best for you? You've got a minute. Let's go.
Great question. So I love that. The tree falling in the forest did actually fall if nobody was there to see it. So what I think about is, okay, when you do something, there's so many different ways to publicize that. So you can put a white paper out, you can put like a one-pager, and in my role, I'm pointing those things at my channel partners. So I do a lot of work with Salesforce. So I want Salesforce sellers to know what I'm being successful at. So I'm creating content around that I can feed into my socials, that I can feed into my one-on-one conversations when I'm setting up lunches, lunch and learns, and playing that in those kind of channel roles. But I'm also emailing that out to my clients and saying, here, look at what we've done for these people. That goes in the email, that goes on the website. So, I think of Richard Branson and, how he repurposes all of his content so many times. Or Gary Vaynerchuk. Like every conversation that you have can be repackaged or republished so many times. So I'm trying to do that. And I'm trying to do that with my podcast as well.
That was so awesome. We're definitely going to dive deeper into this on a later show. And as we approach our last question, before we ask people how people can get a hold of you, how people can reach you, learn more about the work that you're doing in your company, and we will include all that information in the show notes. What I wanted to ask you is, what is one piece of advice that you would offer to your younger self, to our audience, and to somebody, especially somebody who's just starting out in the same niche that you're in, but just doesn't know how to start or get going?
I would say don't worry about the results. I think a lot of us are so worried about hitting that target, getting more views, getting more traction, and we kind of get that analysis paralysis, and we just don't get started, or we don't throw ourselves into that. And what I'm doing, more recently, I'm just thinking like, okay, look, if I don't put the effort in, if I just don't get going, I'm guaranteeing my own failure. But if you just get started, if you just throw yourself in, like you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna fail along the way, but those things are going to help you succeed. You're gonna learn from that. So what I'm doing, in my day job with the Salesforce consulting, fearlessly reaching out to people, not doubting myself, not doubting my own abilities, but focusing on what we have to offer and putting that out there. In my podcast, like boldly asking for time with people, kind of like what we're doing here, and just getting after it and not worrying about the consequences. Because if I don't have 10,000 people looking at me, the failure, if it happens, isn't that bad anyway. So just be bold and go after it.
Amazing stuff. We're going to have to thank our guest today for being a guest on Business Story of the Week. And before we cut out on this episode, I wanted to ask you, how can people get a hold of you? How can people learn more about what you're doing? And how do people engage with you? And we will transcribe this and put it in the show notes for everybody to find.
Yep. Great question. You can reach out to me at Royce, ROYCE, at crmscience.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn as Royce Hall, and I've got links to all of the other projects that I'm working on there. So you find me on email, you find me on LinkedIn, and I'll get you connected to everything else that we talked about and more.